What? A new Elasticycle.
Elasticycle? I didn't know you had a bike.
Hey, I had a mohawk. There's a lot about me you don't know.
Yeah, but a mohawk?
You didn't miss anything. Oh, yeah. This one's electric.
What's that mean?
Whoa. Means it's torquey. I'll get the hang of it.
You will be great.
I will be great, and you will too.
We will both be great.
Bye, sweetie.
And that's a clip from Incredibles 2. I'm delighted to say that one of its stars, Holly Hunter, is on the show. Hello, Holly. How are you?
Great. Fantastic.
It's very nice to see you. And you've already taken a fancy to my glasses, so which is a good start to any interview, I think.
You told me they looked good.
Yeah, they did look good on you, actually. I think that's quite good. You don't need glasses, do you?
I did reading. Yes, reading.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sure we can negotiate a rate. So Incredibles 2, 14 years after The Incredibles came along and became one of the jewels in the Pixar crown. Just explain what we need to know about this film before we take it any further.
Well,
what do we need to know here?
Well, I think that it is amusing that Brad Bird decided to pick the movie up like 14 seconds after the original ended, because you can only do that in animation. You can't do that in real life.
No, true.
So that was kind of fun for us all. And I think it's really fun for the audience, too. And it's a cool thing for both, for the entire family, because you have this child, Jack, who is a revelation to his family. Mm-hmm. He's the holder of many secrets that his parents, discover through the course of the movie, that I think is also kind of fun for the audience.
So we have Helen and Bob, Violet, Dash, and Jack. Yes? Just reintroduce, so as it was 14 years ago, just remind us where we are at the start of this film.
Well, we are, ensconced in a battle with the Underminer, who is a kind of an analog bad guy. And the Incredibles are still illegal, and then they really muck things up by the end of Incredibles Part 1. So we enter the scene, and they are still very much illegal. And there is a super fan who loves superheroes, who wants to find a way to make them legal again. And he relies on Mrs. Incredible and her economy, her natural economy, her natural... Mr. Incredible tends to, make a mess of things, and she doesn't. So right. She's going to be the leader of making the supers legal again.
The key thing is that Elastigirl in this movie, she is the first among equals. It's your picture. And it feels very prescient and very topical, although clearly this has been planned for a while, that Mr. Incredible, he's back home and you're the one that's taken all the glory.
It's fun that she kind of has a room of one's own in this movie. She's, fully autonomous. She's allowed to be the real hero. I think that was an idea that Brad Bird, who created The Incredibles, had immediately after the first movie was over. He went, I have an idea for the second movie. But he didn't really he wasn't really into doing it immediately. So this is a bit serendipitous because they started actually working on Incredibles 2 3 or 4 years ago. So this is a beautiful kind of piggyback ride on Me Too, Time's Up.
It feels as though, I don't know how long you've been working on it and the first time you saw the script, but part of you must have thought, wow, this is going to play well. All these stories, exactly as you were mentioning, people will think this is a very timely movie.
Well, we actually I started working on it a couple of years ago, so none of this stuff had occurred. So it really is kind of an amazing piece of timing that the movie, it's incredibly advantageous for the movie, but it's great. It's great for everybody to see a woman kicking ass.
And stretching.
She's
a woman unbound, isn't she? She is unshackled in this film, as Mr. Incredible gets a few shackles, which are enormously entertaining, and many parents will laugh as he struggles to work out the maths homework, particularly because they teach maths in a different way, and he has to try and work that. That's great. But Elastigirl, she's off. The shackles are gone.
Well,
Look
I think it's also really fun to see the analytic mind of Elastigirl, to see the coolness of the character manifest. Because in the first one, she's warm. She's a mom. Loves the domestic life. And in this one, you get to see a much more calculating, much more canny, cooler version of a woman who operates really well under pressure and has tremendous mental flexibility as well as physical flexibility. Yeah, so that's entertaining and kind of revelatory.
So presumably your bits of the recording are you and Brad in a studio? Had a studio like this? I mean, tell us how it works.
Well, it's much bigger than this. Disney has a studio, and Pixar does as well. And I live in New York, but for this movie, I might have recorded once in New York. Generally, I was in L.A. or I went up to Pixar. But Disney has this unbelievable outfit where you've got a remote-controlled mic that flies in and out. You've got a trapeze bar that can fly down, and you can hang from it if the scene dictates that kind of stress. You've got a bar that you can pull from the ground. You can push it and pull it. If I had to brush my teeth, I really brushed my teeth, and they would have like a bowl and a toothbrush and toothpaste. It's as much reality as audio-wise as they can bring into the studio. And Brad is standing opposite me about, as far away from me as you are. And so we just acted the entire movie together.
So he's playing all the other roles?
Yes, he's playing all the... And Brad's a good actor. I mean, he plays, Edna. He's fab.
I could listen to your voice for hours, and you have a very distinctive and memorable voice. And we spoke to Tom Hanks 2 or 3 times in the last few years about the movies that he's been working on. And then the next Toy Story film comes up. And listeners ask questions about that. And he was talking about looking after his voice. And he said, fortunately, this is Tom talking about himself, he said, I don't smoke and I don't drink very much, and my voice actually matches. So Woody now is pretty much where Woody was all those years ago. And I always wonder, do you particularly look after your voice? Because it is such a distinctive voice. People go, that's Holly Hunter. Do you look after it in the way that Tom does?
I would say that I don't smoke. And that's huge in terms of aging a voice. I think when people smoke over decades, you can really hear a difference. But for the most part, people's voices are one of the last things to age. There tends to be a little bit of a stability, unlike the rest of you, which starts going downhill. The voice doesn't take a dive for a number of decades, I think. Unless, if you're an opera singer or, and I think that people who are on stage or people who sing musical theater, actors and actresses, they have to take care of their voices in a very particular way that I have not felt compelled to do.
The 2 other things that I just wanted to mention about Incredibles 2, which I think people will pick up on, is the fact that the conversations that you as a family have around the table, some of them have real substance. So that there's one where you're talking about whether it's right to break unjust laws. And it's gone in like 10, 15 seconds thinking, actually, that's a very interesting point. Right. And then there's another one about whether screen addiction leads to conformity and whether we're all going to be the same if we're all addicted to our screens. And these, I think on a second viewing, people go, you know what, that's really interesting. We should talk about that.
That's a great point. It's fantastic, for me, because I saw the movie for the second time only last night. And on second viewing, the screenslaver kind of philosophy that's playing in a voiceover. So you can kind of miss it because the visuals are very complex and rich, and there's a lot of action. But I think Brad Bird had a lot that he wanted to express in this movie, philosophically, about government, about rules, and about what we're doing in terms of social media and the screens that we're surrounded, relentlessly by. There was a lot that he wanted to talk about, and he does it in some fairly subtle ways that are easily digestible. Yes. It's not like it's not didactic. I feel like it's quite seductive.
Well, it's a delight. Incredibles 2. Holly Hunter, a pleasure to have you back on the show. Thank you so much indeed for spending some time with us. Holly, thank you so much.
Thanks.